There was a time on a place far, far away on a planet called Earth, where these fleshy, ape-like fart machines used these tiny and expensive electronic devices they kept in their pockets to use as a portal into a digital world of absolute chaos and debauchery, a world that knows no bounds to its nonsense and hypocritical grandstanding over insignificant topics, and they called this world TikTok. Hello, my name's your mother, this is my YouTube channel, and today we're gonna talk about TikTok. And not because anything interesting is happening over there, but actually just the opposite. You see, if it were 2020 and I told you, oh yeah, TikTok's boring, there's nothing happening over there, you would be shocked and surprised because it's almost common knowledge at this point that TikTok is the crazy app where crazy people go to do crazy things on camera. And back during 2020, that was absolutely true, but TikTok is so much more than that. On TikTok, you could see a live stream of a street vendor making pulled pork sandwiches in China, then scroll one time and boom, you're watching a guy do a dramatic reading of an unclassified CIA document from the 90s.
This is a CIA file about Tibetan kids with X-ray vision. I am not even kidding.
And of course it didn't just stop there. If you wanted to see some bums fight, then TikTok's got you. If you wanted to see someone explain a 10-year-long feud between two influencers you've never heard of, then TikTok's got you. And if you wanted to see two people beg for money through TikTok battles, then TikTok's got you. You probably don't want to see that, but without TikTok, then we wouldn't be able to make fun of those people, and it's very fun to do so.
Not passing this score.
Get them banned. Get them banned. We don't do that here. Oh, now I'm pissed.
The point is that TikTok wasn't just an app for people to get as wild as possible, but it also had a plethora of other content for anyone who could ever want to see it, and a huge part of this was moderation. If you're a Gen X like me, then you probably grew up mostly on YouTube, and then as you got older, progressively added on more social media platforms like Instagram and Snapchat, etc. Those apps and apps like them have huge user bases, and so they have to exert some control over who gets to post what. That, and there's a law that forces social media companies to have some type of moderation. However, it's a very old law, it's complicated and vague as hell, and whether or not the social media companies are actually following the law is a huge debate. That could easily be fixed if we just made a new law, but unfortunately, this is America, and the only thing that we can do fast is dig graves and put teenagers in the military. But back to the point, most of us grew up with YouTube along with other apps, and all of those apps moderate their content to a certain extent. It may be easier to post a booty pic on Snapchat than on Instagram, however, neither of them will let you just jerk it into the camera, which I think is a huge oversight in my opinion. What I'm saying is that these platforms control the content on their platforms in very specific and consistent ways, or at least try to. However, this is not the case at all with TikTok.
I'm a man, baby. I ain't no boy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know how to put it in there and do it for about 30 minutes. All the way in there. If it don't fit, I pack it.
And this is where I can offer up my own lived experience, because I actually got my start as a content creator on TikTok, and I was actually a professional because I did get paid, and I'll have you know that that $2 was very well spent. I usually used to talk about politics and social justice issues, but I learned very quickly that there's a specific reason why most of my cohorts did not do that. And the reason they didn't is because TikTok gets to choose who gets to say what and at what time. For example, in 2024, there was an online campus protest at a college in California called California State Polytechnic University. The cause of the protest was because the students wanted administration to disclose and sever any ties with Israel or the Israeli government. Because you may not know, but many colleges invest your tuition money directly into Israel so they can commit whatever the hot new war crime is. And in a more direct way, a lot of colleges will just straight up pay companies based in Israel to do simple stuff like construction, so the shitty dorm room that you're forced to pay for might have also been built by a country younger than your parents that breaks peace agreements like a cheap toy. The protests were very long and very dramatic. The police were there and up to their regular shenanigans, and it started a wave of protests on other college campuses around the country. And so obviously, as a political social justice TikToker, I wanted to report on the story. It was really hard too, because I had caught wind of what was happening really early, like really early, so early that the school was running a live broadcast from the school, giving live commentary on everything on the ground. They would have to interrupt their sentences to give breaking news updates where they would say something like, "So, I just got a DM from my friend Rachel that there's a squad of SWAT vans in the quad. We'll have more coming up for you here at 107 California Tech." Anyway, I was listening to this radio show all night. I was getting down my little notes. I got in contact with the people at the radio show, and I got their information on what happened from their perspective, a primary source. And so I start getting my little script together. I find a bailout fund for the college students that got arrested during the protest, and I verify it, and bam, I'm ready to upload a TikTok. Come hither, come forth, for I have news. I press hit on upload, and then radio silence. You see, TikTok's moderation isn't like any other platform. They do have community guidelines, but they are only concept art of the idea of regulations. What TikTok will do sometimes, instead of just taking your video down, is it will tell you that your video was uploaded when in reality, nobody can see it. You're just gonna see the 0 views and think to yourself, wow, I guess this video was terrible, not knowing that if you just went to a burner account and went to your own account again, that you would see that there's nothing there. And you might think to yourself, well, TikTok is a social media platform, and they are compelled by the law to moderate the content that's on their platform, and so maybe this is just a topic that they're not letting people talk about on their platform. And that's very smart and insightful. However, then explain to me why later on that very day, I saw another video on my For You page from another TikToker making a video that was very similar to mine in content and feeling and spirit. The only difference is their video got to be uploaded. They were white, straight, and had 1 million followers, and I had talked about Israel in a negative way several times in videos before. This other person had not. In those other videos I made, I talked about Israel in a more general way, basically just saying Israel no good. But as soon as it gets connected to a real life event, then it's game over. And so the rules on TikTok were you can bash Israel all you want, but you can't bash the things they do or the things they did to make other people do things. Naturally, you'll be able to see the hypocritical nature of this rule, and that lays a blueprint and a foundation for most of how TikTok's moderation works. You can't do something, but someone else can do basically the exact same thing. The rules on YouTube are much more general. If YouTube doesn't want you to say a certain word, then you better be sure that almost nobody is going to be saying it. And it's similar with most other apps like Instagram and Snapchat. If someone posts something and it gets taken down, then everybody else acts right pretty quickly so it doesn't happen to them, because it's never only happening to just one person. On TikTok though, you can have a group of 10 people make the exact same video with the exact same script to accounts with the exact same following numbers and get drastically different results each time. And this isn't me saying that YouTube always gets it right. In fact, YouTube's moderation system isn't so much good as it is aggressive and will often take down things that are benign. So if you think YouTube's moderation is good, then TikTok's was bad. And if you think YouTube's moderation system is bad, then TikTok's was badder. But everything I'm saying makes it sound like TikTok is a terrible place to upload content. And it is, but not for this reason. TikTok's inconsistent moderation was actually a huge part of what made it flourish. Along with moderation comes copyright, because inevitably people who own stuff are gonna come around and ask if you're paying to use their stuff. But TikTok just didn't fucking care. You could add whatever song that existed to any video you wanted and have no fear it would be taken down. You could do a live stream and play copyrighted music the whole time at full volume. You could take a whole movie scene and just upload it uncropped, unedited. This is a YouTuber's wet dream. 50% of a YouTuber's editing time is jump cuts and getting around copyright, because YouTube doesn't let anything slide. If you have someone drive by in the background of your video blasting VeggieTales, you are done for. And so every YouTuber has to worry about if there's anything in their video that could possibly get blocked by the copyright checks. And if you want to get paid from that video, then you better be sure that all those cuss words are bleeped out and make sure there's not too many bleeps. On TikTok, I could record a video of myself reading a list of the world's most offensive words, and as long as the video got traction, I would still get a deposit. On TikTok, you didn't have to worry about censorship or thumbnails or copyright. You could just make whatever the fuck and hope people liked it. Or you would hope that TikTok would let you upload it, because as I said earlier, it's inconsistent. And so just because it let you use a popular song doesn't mean it's gonna let someone else. And just because it let someone else curse like a sailor doesn't mean it's gonna let you. And this causes mass confusion. However, alternatively, surprisingly, in fact, confusion is really good for business. When you combine inconsistent moderation with a base of users who are desperate for freedom when it comes to the content they create, you get a bunch of people who don't know what's supposed to work or how. For example, if you go to any subreddit with someone looking for help with a TikTok issue, you will find every possible answer with no consensus. You might have someone who's uploaded 30 covers of pop songs trying to find out why TikTok took down their latest video, and someone might reply with, "You can use music?" There's one person that can and one person who never could, and because they're both right, they both just assume the other is crazy. And you're wondering, how is this good for TikTok? And that's a great question. The answer has to do a little bit with that fuck-ass law I told you about earlier. And now I don't really want to talk about this law that much, and not just because since I learned about it, I go through periods of understanding it and then being completely confused again, but also because it's very boring. The law is called Section 230, and I promise you could find much better people to explain it than I can, but the version for dummies is that it puts social media companies in America in a weird spot. It basically says that social media companies aren't responsible for the stuff people put on their platforms, but they have to protect children. And you can see how this is contradictory. The government says that social media companies aren't responsible for anything except for when they might be, and it's vague as hell as to when they might be. This is mostly to their benefit, because if Instagram, for example, got sued every time it made one of its users do that word I can't say, then it wouldn't exist. But this creates a silent fear because they never know when or how or if the law is going to be applied, and so they have to exert some type of moderation even though no rules exist for how they have to do it. And even though YouTube is different from Instagram and Instagram from Snapchat and so on, they've all been around for a long time and in the same country, so they've all kind of settled around similar rules. This was not the case with TikTok. It was from a different country, it was Chinese, and it was new. This meant that TikTok didn't just settle into the existing moderation mainstream. What TikTok did was seize an opportunity, all because of copyright. Because this law was so vague and complicated and hypocritical, TikTok could just step in and do everything else that all the other apps weren't doing because there was no reason not to. Social media companies rarely get in trouble for anything, yet the American social media companies like to play it safe. But that is not how Chinese business works at all. Chinese business works fast. And so the answer to the question, what does TikTok get out of inconsistent moderation, is everything, because TikTok only has to do a little bit of moderation here, a little bit of moderation there, and it doesn't have to be consistent at all just to seem like they have a system set up. All the while, they can give everybody what they've been wanting from these other social media companies that they aren't offering, and they can steal watch time from YouTube, the world's biggest and most successful video player in history. And TikTok did all of those things, and in the matter of a few years. And so no, it does not matter that you can talk about something one day and then you can't talk about it the next, because TikTok let you talk about it at all. You may be wondering what happened to this once great and powerful, hot young new app, and I do have an answer for you, but be warned, it's quite pitiful. So what happened to TikTok starts whenever it is the first time you heard about it getting banned, because it was like 5 or 6 times, and it started in 2019. Ever since TikTok started taking watch time from the other big apps, they were shaken in their boots, and so there was a long-running political effort to get it banned basically from the start, and it was very popular basically the whole time. Not with us, but with them. And now I want to avoid speaking of Orange, but unfortunately he's a big part of this downfall, and so I do have to say that our current president did spearhead the effort to ban TikTok, largely because kids are liberals are on TikTok, and somehow that has something to do with the election, I don't know. Because of all of that, TikTok was basically always on borrowed time, at least in the state that it was, because you see in this story, the villain is also the hero. As you may remember, Donald Trump orchestrated a deal between between ByteDance and Oracle to make TikTok an American company. This coming after Congress made it illegal for it to exist and allowed it to break the law and allowed the president to break the law, and I think we all moved on from that way too quickly. Anyway, this made TikTok an official American company run officially by official American Americans. Yay! Except not yay. The issue with American companies, as I explained earlier, is that they like to play things safe. They want to be as boring as possible to not make people want to upload illegal stuff, and they can afford to do it because you have nowhere else to go, because there is no alternative to YouTube. American companies are also obsessed with making money by any means necessary, and so you might have noticed that the entire internet pretty much has degraded drastically in quality over the past few years, and that's because more ads and less money spent on fixing glitches. All of these things immediately affected TikTok as soon as it got sold. Instantly, an app known for fast scrolling, quick engagement was a slow, slumbering, glitchy dump filled with AI-generated slop and random videos with millions of likes that you could never figure out who liked them or why. I literally have to scroll like 10 videos before I get something that feels like it was recommended for me and not just some popular garbage. This is a problem people have been complaining about on YouTube for years. YouTube recommendations are absolute ass. Instagram is the same thing. It just shows you random bullshit, and as soon as TikTok got sold, it was the same exact thing. No more videos perfectly selected for you, just popular garbage.
I really miss when China owned this app, because when China owned this app, all of my For You page was my genuine interest. Now, ever since America bought this app, half of my For You page is my interest, and then the other half is NPC AI slop. Like, can we stop? And it's ads, too.
I am bigoted, and here is my bigoted opinion. Hey guys, just wanted to hop on here and talk about something I have absolutely no education on. Did you guys know about this made-up statistic that I made up in my head? Isn't that crazy?
And so what we have now is an app named TikTok that barely resembles the great app it once was, truly a symbol of the status quo and a reminder that the more things change, the more they stay the same. We have a new big social media app now, so that's cool. Unfortunately, it's speed running its way to the Vine territory, or worse, Reddit. I also want to say really quickly that there are a plethora of reasons why TikTok is a shit show and kinda always has been. As I mentioned earlier, there's that law, but that law is just one section of a larger thing. It's not one law by itself. Again, find someone else to explain it if you want to understand, but I'll try and save you the time. You've got like a 30% chance. There's also more to the political aspects, of course, and TikTok made a bunch of rapid, horrible changes right before it got sold that also made things worse. For example, TikTok Shop, even more ads, sponsored posts. There are a lot of reasons that TikTok was never just going to last. I just wanted to cover the reasons that I thought were the most interesting and reasons that I didn't think other people had talked about a lot. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. It's really different from my regular stuff, but Drag Race is really f***ing bad right now, and I needed a break, but I still need to eat. So consider supporting the channel by going to the Patreon or by becoming a channel member. Also remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been your mother. This has been my YouTube channel, and y'all have a good day. There's no way I finished. I finished. Stop this.